welcome everybody to the 420 TV news. And I got guest Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch, and he's got like always cool shit to say about everything. So I got him on to narrate my news. Like I'm just gonna ask him stuff. But first, before we get there, you just got monetized, correct? On your Oppenheimer Ranch channel. Is there a delay? There is a delay.
Okay, I was muted. I got it. We're back.
All right, cool.
Thanks for having me on, Ransom. 420 TV, Freedomist Films. Yeah, so yesterday morning I got an email from YouTube, and they were like, yo, we demonetized all 1,049 of your videos, and you can suck it.
Wow.
And then they had the reason. Go ahead. Yeah, all of them.
And they don't give you this money you've already earned to you now. Watch. You don't get that money. You have to.
I don't know, because my AdSense is like a month delayed, so they literally would have will steal like months of my revenue. Yeah, so I'll see on the 21st if that money comes in.
I almost bet
does it
whatever the last month is just gone. They're dicks like that. They did that to me. It was right after I got enough to start using the AdSense thing the first time around.
Yep.
And then right when I started making money, they just killed the channel. And I was like, oh, well, what happened to the money? They were like, no, YouTube doesn't even send the record over of what you did or didn't do. That's awesome.
So luckily we have a new channel that I started a month ago, and it is monetized. So I'm going to be doing updates over at Magnetic Reversal News until my appeal date, which is May 9th. So May 9th, I'm going to appeal and see what happens.
So if you want to watch the Earth weather, it'll be on the other channel.
Yeah, at least for the next month.
Are you still going to give it some free stuff on the Oppenheimer stuff? On the Oppenheimer.
Yeah, we're going to be posting. We're going to be posting the how-to stuff over there, the greenhouse stuff, and all that stuff that I do every day.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm already subbed. You guys need to sub. All right, so I got some news lined up, but before that, I wanted you guys to tell everybody kind of like where you started out, like tripping out on Monsanto, because I used to do that too. Like once I started paying attention to anything, I started realizing everything was just poisoned, and then that led me into GMOs and on and on and on, and then vaccines, and now it's gene edited. We're in the future where it's all going to be like gene edited everything.
I'm having some connectivity issues, so I'm shutting some stuff down here.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so like in maybe 2011, I just started to do some research into Monsanto. I had been working for the ACLU and other progressive nonprofits in Philly as a fundraiser. And so I just got into some activist work, and then I looked into Monsanto and food, and people were telling me all this crazy shit. So I did my own research. And then a group of people worldwide started the March Against Monsanto in 2012. It was the largest global march independently organized ever in history, and it wasn't even covered on the media. I think we marched in probably over 50 cities worldwide with over 20 million people, and it was only covered in 3 newspapers in the whole world. And they were privately owned. One was in Tampa Bay. Regardless, to say it got even worse year after year, but it's still going on. It's just kind of shrunk in size from the initial march. But that's how I got my start organizing events, organizing the March Against Monsanto in Philly. And then I had organized many marches in that city. So that's how I got my feet wet, working with cops and rules and permits and the feds and everybody, because we would have it in Philly. I would have these marches at the Constitution Center, or like by, where the original shit was going on, and you got to get permits for that, or they don't allow you to go there. but they have to allow you to go there, and you can say whatever you want. That's where the gun show and the Second Amendment rights and all that shit happens. So it was a fun ride. And then eventually Leah and I met Leah, my partner, and she started helping out towards the end. And then we decided to stop bitching about it and then to do something about it. So we opted out of society, moved out to Colorado to start a sustainable homestead and teach other people that they can do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You just got to know what to do. And the grocery store's kind of like not really the place to go unless you just have to, or they actually have a good selection. And I noticed when I visited where you lived, they had a lot more organic things than like where I live. You're lucky to get like some organic mayonnaise or, you know, like some kind of thing that doesn't really help you. Well, great. I guess.
Yeah, one of the benefits of Pagosa is that awesome city market. It literally has like thousands of organic choices on everything. So it's a really good supermarket for such a tiny town here. We got a good market. And then when June comes around, we have one of the best farmers market for 100 miles. People come from Durango to the Pagosa farmers market where you can get all kind of everything handcrafted, everything you need to survive, like from food to bread to soap and everything at the Pagosa farmers market. Yeah, so it's an awesome.
Do you have anything to do with the decriminalization movement there in Philly?
Yeah, we were all mutual friends as activists. So, and in fact, the head guy there, we ran him for some political office, city council or something hilarious.
That's right. I remember that.
But his name is Poe.
Yep. Yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook. That's why I asked him. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, we used to hang out. So we used to hang out in real time.
That's awesome. I noticed he did 420 downtown a lot. I'm pretty sure in the same area you were talking about there.
The same place that we would have our marches is where we would do the 420 festivals, and we did it year after year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then it was like the feds came in and took out. I forget that one year the feds came in and took somebody out as part of the movement and arrested him. But it's just funny how that shit works. And I got sick of it. So I wanted to get out of that big city scene because, you know, you don't even know if they're going to shoot everyone or what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's weird. I posted the shit out of that video of that incident. Like I was all watching as much as I could through, because even though I didn't live near there. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you'll see me mingling around the crowd in those on those marches or those 420 days.
Yeah. You can go back, I'm telling you, in my Facebook history, and I bet you're there somewhere because of the type of stuff I always paid attention to and reposted and shared all the time. But now those social medias are dead. They're dead. The algorithm has snuffed all of that kind of stuff out. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm blocked from boosting on Facebook because I used to pay to boost posts. And I mean, our social media pages are growing. Like Oppenheimer Ranch Project is steadily growing, and so is Solar Shutdown and Plasma Geology I have, and dozens of others. But for the most part, social media is dead because, I mean, no one sees it unless it's over, Johnny.
Well, it was meant to be a big distraction, and then when people turned the algorithm against it and started using it to inform people of, you know, like things happening, what to look at. Like I remember stuff when I started getting on there, like I had never heard of, and I thought it was bullshit. And then as soon as I find out, and then I'm like, wow, man, shit is fucked up. What is that? Sour relief. Is that relief from all of the other sour types of things? Change up or what? Anyway, let's get into the 420 news for a second here. And I want to hear your ideas on a lot of this current supposed news. But first, while you load the sour relief, here's some comical relief I thought you guys would find funny. I'm going to mute myself and play. Anyway, I thought that was funny because the guy did a Hulkster and ripped off his shirt, like, and then put his hands on that guy, and then look what happened afterwards. That guy laid him out a couple times, and then finished him off with a goddamn video game kick at the end there. I almost heard somebody say that. Finish him. That had nothing to do with the news, though. I just thought that shit was funny. All right, so tell us about this shit, because I find this that I think I heard this lots of months ago on your channel, where you're talking about everything was going to be flooding because of the snowpacks and different stuff like that, and now they're telling people. So I've linked this to a bunch of other articles where they're talking about there's going to be a severe food shortage in the next 2 years because of flooding, drought in the wrong areas, and then also the meat markets because of different pathogens like swine flu and other things. But they wait till the last minute to tell anybody these kind of things. It's almost a joke.
Yeah, it's literally, and in the past, I remember, because I'm old, I'm an old head. They used to warn at least a week ahead when a big storm is coming, but now it's 48 hours. They like tiptoe their way in because they have no skills. The people that are hired in these positions absolutely are puppets that look good, that can talk well and form a sentence, but they don't have any real scientific skills or knowledge except to look at the computer models, which are fine. I use computer models in my predicting, but you can lay that on a couple other pieces of scientific evidence to do long-term predicting pretty accurately. Specifically, the sun, which is what the farmers' effing almanac has been using since 1712 or whenever that started. And they've been almost like 80% accurate for hundreds of years. Wait. Sometimes they're all off in places.
Are you telling me that there's a book out there that you could look at that could predict the weather in a certain year based on a cycle of the sun? And you're also telling me that the sun drives the weather?
Yeah, most farmers and even Ben Franklin knew that. And so it's unfortunate the amount of sheep, the 8 billion sheep roaming the planet that have been indoctrinated into the Al Gorean religion, which is now affecting the algorithm.
Yeah, this guy's saying it's going to affect over 4 million people, and that's just, talking about the blizzard warnings. But they don't really give you a number for like how many people are they estimating are going to be flooded out in the middle of summer when all this snowpack starts melting and going down the Rocky Mountains. Or even the Ohio Basin.
Yeah, and not only that, there were over 80,000 people without power this morning. The numbers have reduced, but this storm is not over. It's going to last another 24 to 36 hours in this region. Some areas I predict to get more than 30 inches, 32 inches probably in southwestern Minnesota. And then the flooding has to occur. I shared last night that there are 50 rivers, about 30 of which in this region of the blizzard, that are at or above flood stage. And so it's April, for God's sakes. The sun is high. All this snow is going to rapidly melt and go into already swollen rivers, which then are all going to meet in the upper Midwest, and they all have to move south. And it's predicted to dump up to 8 inches of rain in Indiana with this system. That's all going to run down through the Ohio River. It's all going to meet in the Mississippi. So the Quad Cities south to Louisiana will see flooding 3 to 4 weeks from now. And they could be warning about it, but they won't until it's a day or two too late and you lose it all.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking of all that crazy flooding and different stuff. And I've read several articles that were talking about how most of the areas where people grow food, industrial type corporate food, is all going to be flooded out this year. And I kept thinking, maybe this is a wonderful thing because we're getting a flush of all of the mud and everything that's soaked in glyphosate all across the United States, and maybe just flush a little bit of all of that water out into the Gulf, and maybe not have so much concentrate of it on our food next year.
Yeah, that's true. But what also happens, I mean, flooding is beneficial. And if you look at the historic flooding record, their flooding occurs every 10.5 years, which is based on solar minimum. It's based on nothing else but solar minimum. During solar minimums, there's more cosmic rays coming in, there's more clouds and more rain. More clouds equals more rain. Historically, you can see all of the flooding in major river systems occur during solar minimums. So it'll be a major flooding year this year and probably next year again. It was last year, and then that'll be pretty much it for this solar minimum. So there are ways to predict this and warn people ahead of time, but you have insurance and people just move back and fix shit. But let's get back to the farms. We're going to lose 30% of that crop, or it's going to be affected due to late planting. But flooding is important because it brings micronutrients from the river onto the land. It will also flush that glyphosate out into the Gulf. But also with these major river floodings and our population you have natural gas and oil and all kind of other toxic shit that's also being laminated across these farms. Farmers know it. They don't give up. They just grow it and then they sell it because they need the money. So unless you're growing your own food, I mean, the shit you eat is food for sheep, basically.
Well, it's not even good for sheep because it's, as far as I know, the soil's been depleted for more than a decade already.
Like, glyphosate. Glyphosate is a chelator.
Yeah.
Scientifically, it's called a chelator. And what it does is it prevents plants from taking up nutrients and kills them. So when they make a glyphosate tolerant plant, that plant is tolerant to glyphosate, but it's not taking up much nutrients. It's just living in the presence of this toxic shite. And then they process it and it remains on the food. And then you eat it. Now, here's some interesting shit. There are some scientific studies that have been around for almost a decade proving that when you eat glyphosate, your gut bacteria has the potential to take up that molecule and replicate it, and replicate the glyphosate molecule in your gut. And literally, your gut bacteria has the ability to make its own pesticide in your body and kill you. It's absolutely insane what can be happening if you eat glyphosate, which is on all genetically modified food.
Yeah, I read a thing that said that, you're eating all of this stuff, but like the glyphosate's on everything. So they were talking about like just one slice of bread has the same amount of glyphosate because of the way they make bread that like 100 apples or something has on it. So like you could eat a bunch of fruit and you barely caught up to one slice of GMO, nice wheat bread that they sell at the supermarket. So just imagine if your diet consists of only sandwiches and, when I drive through town and I trip out because I see all of the fast food chains and they only offer the same things. There's burritos, tacos, burgers, fried chicken, and that's it. Basically, different people are putting different spins on it. So it's a bunch of people eating bread and plasticides. And then everybody's worried about, why is it that everybody that probably in other places, somebody in their family's dying of cancer right now. Their dad, their uncle, their grandpa, their sister, whatever. Everybody's got it now. It's like it used to be so rare people flew to check out and diagnose someone with it, but now it's just like everybody knows somebody with cancer dying.
Yeah, not only that, they're suffering from mental illness and inflammatory disease, diabetes, hundreds of afflictions, which are all inflammatory related. People with Crohn's disease that are you got all the people that are intolerant to wheat, the gluten-free nuts.
Yeah.
So this is all because of the poison in our food. If you eat pure organic food that you grow and produce, even if it's meat, and you know how you produce the meat, they're grass-fed on grass that's not sprayed by glyphosate, you're going to be healthy. Because health starts with micronutrients and then it goes to your gut bacteria. That regulates your immune system. Add some cannabis to the mix and you're literally a homeostasis immunity beast. But most people can't achieve this. They live in major cities. We just talked about it. These are food deserts. There
Yeah.
is no organic choices. And if there are, it's like 8 months old and shriveled and $9 a pound. And nobody wants to eat that crap. So you go to the dollar menu at the chicken store, and you're literally giving yourself diabetes, clogging up your arteries and killing yourself. You're also going to make yourself depressed and want to rip your eyeballs out. It's just like the food you eat. You are what you eat. Granny was right. Listen to your granny.
Exactly. And I'm tripping out on the new thing that's that's food. I wonder what it's programmed to do in your what's that, epigenetics, like all the way down to what your genes decide to absorb different proteins or enzymes or whatever, and it literally changes the way your genes operate, turning on and off things. That's crazy. And then I was looking at this, and all this makes me think of, when I'm reading about gene edited babies and this and that, this argument about, is this a human? Did we make, because, we're supposedly, according to geneticists, Asians have a high amount of maybe 3 to 5% Neanderthal, and Europeans also have some Neanderthal with a little Devenison man mixed in there, and then they pop up with these things. And then I'm reading through the article, and it talks about, how basically they point out to me that, there's still no missing link. It's just like, 70,000 years ago, all these smart people just started doing all these things everywhere and then killed off all these other types of humans or whatever. So I'm wondering about that. And I thought it took millions and millions and millions and millions of years to evolve and change into other things. Why do they say that human beings just kind of, a couple 100,000 years, and then all of a sudden we skip from apes to upright walking human beings?
Well, let's just get right to brass tacks. There is no information that the hominids that we're talking about were apes in any way. The hominids we're talking about that are in the human lineage are all different types of human types. They're all humans. The one you're showing here, they found in the Philippines, these are what we would call fairies. So in all the myths and legends of fairies.
And people say that,
this is the second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the second time in the last 5 years that they found a new species of tiny people. And all the legends talk about fairies and elves and all that shit. And there they are. That's a leg bone right there. It's the size of a pencil. Yeah. But moreover, the lineage of Neanderthal and Denisovians and the Australopithecus and Cro-Magnon, these are all people. They're all different kinds of humans. They're different species of humans. And being a paleontologist, I can assure you that the stratigraphic record and the paleontological record shows no evolution. There are no in-between species. There are no missing links. And Ransom, we have billions of samples of species from the Precambrian till present. What did we miss them all? That clearly shows that Darwinism is BS. There is no such thing as gradual evolution. It's episodic, it's catastrophic, it's periodic, and it's driven by the cosmos. The one thing we know about cosmic rays is that they cause genetic material to change. So we're entering in a cosmic ray high flux period. When the magnetic reversal occurs, for about 7 hours, the planet will be bombarded by cosmic radiation unseen. People outside of caves will probably die, but everyone will be mutated instantly in 7 hours. And then what we have after that are new species that day. So the babies we have, like I told Rex once, might fly out of the woman's womb, wow, and she might rip her face off. But that's how evolution works. It's episodic, it's periodic, it's geologically instantaneous, and it's driven by cosmic rays.
Well, I got 2 questions for you. Why do they pump these? And basically, we are talking about different types of humans, but they make some like the Florensis and this new one. They're going to make it more ape-like on purpose. And they don't say anywhere in there about genetic testing. So they haven't matched this against the human genome or the other ones like they have the other. But they have the elongated skull people of Peru. And no one wants to talk about the fact that the DNA from the parental source indicates that it was also another kind of human being. And then with the cosmic rays and stuff, do you think that's why do they leave that part out of, you know, how like when you're in elementary school, they tell you, oh, well, there was just one single cell floating around in the ocean. And then boom, there's like thousands of species in an evolution explosion, I guess. So that would be more like what you're talking about, right? Where cosmic rays come in and there's just billions of the same thing. And then all of a sudden there's mutations of the ones that survive. And there's actually some recent examples of that. There's these kinds of sharks that live off the Bikini Islands they were mutated when they blew up bombs, and they don't have any problems, obviously, because the mutation didn't hurt the way that they hunted or did anything, but they lost their dorsal fin, and it's just like a little bump, and it's just boom, there's a new species because of radioactive rays mutating its DNA, and it just changed into a new species overnight. There it is. It's the Lecon.
Let me just break some science and some knowledge down right here. Being a paleontologist, I can tell you for sure that our idea of evolution is right, and paleontologists have known this for decades. Goes all the way back to the 70s with Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldridge when they were smoking pot and drinking at the bar, and they were in their early 20s. They knew, because they were paleontologists, the top of their field. They knew that there was no missing link, no gradual evolution, and they started the theory of punctuated equilibria. Now, this comes from field evidence. We have something called the Burgess Shale up in British Columbia, which all of a sudden in the Cambrian, when there's nothing going on, there's some algae and nothing going on. You got algae floating around the ocean, and all of a sudden there's 1,000 species with 12 sets of eyes and 15 sets of legs. And there's this giant thing that looks like a crab that eats shit that's 9 feet long. And then there's like hallucinogenia is a worm that has like 50 feet. All of a sudden, one morning, that occurs. And then about 50 million years later, those are all gone, and there's a whole bunch of other shit. And this happens again and again and again and again and again. There's no evolution. It's instantaneous speciation brought on by cosmogenic events, typically catastrophes. The earth gets moved, something hits the earth, and the earth gets moved. The sun changes shape, the earth swells or shrinks, all of these things. Now, just like take dinosaurs, for example. We now know that dinosaurs cannot live at this gravity. They would be dead. So the earth had to be smaller. It's just a fact. Or gravity had to be different. Go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to ask. How could the gravity change if the mass didn't change on the earth?
It would have to change. You're exactly right.
Major impacts that added more mass, and over time we've been
No, this is how it works. What we now know is that when we're going into this magnetic reversal, there will be huge amounts of energy pouring into our North Pole. And it's these cosmic rays that actually cause plasma in the center of the Earth to create matter. This goes all the way. This comes with Doug Vogt and this theory of multidimensional reality, that the energy forms matter in the earth and it grows. The earth has been growing. The plates haven't been moving around. They were all connected at one time when the earth was smaller. And for the last 500 million years, the earth has been getting bigger and we've been getting heavier.
That's funny that you went there, because they have this. We'll just go ahead and skip over to this article here, and I'll share that. Sorry, I'm slow on the button. Here we go. So according to this, kind of tabloid article here, the New York Post, this top scientist is claiming that the Earth could shrink down to the size of 2 football fields if a black hole experiment goes wrong, and he gets into the Hadron Collider and CERN, and he's talking about how some of these particles could start interacting with the matter in after they've left and reassemble and start making new matter every time it comes in contact with some other matter. If I read it right there. So he's pretty much saying that these things could start leaking out, exotic particles that could start creating matter in our plane of existence here.
Well, here's the problem with that. That's all based on some fairy tale shit math. It's total fairy tale shit math. And the black holes and the dark matter is just to make their shitty math work. And then the circles that I've been hanging out with in the last decade, starting with Leah and I went to the first EU conference we went to was in, I believe, 2014. We met some of the most brilliant mathematicians who basically prove that Einstein and black holes are frauds, and that are even the paradigm that the mainstream pushes out and that we teach in schools about our universe being a Big Bang universe. That's what everyone learns. In a Big Bang universe, you cannot have black holes and dark matter or dark energy. The only way you can get black holes and dark matter is in an infinite universe, which is the exact opposite of what we believe. We believe in the Big Bang and we believe in black holes. They do not coincide mathematically. So the whole mainstream and what we learn is an oxymoron. It's impossible. We cannot live in a Big Bang universe if there are black holes. Black holes are potentially possible if we live in an infinite universe, and so on. So the math is wrong. Second point, black holes have never been seen, and they just showed us a picture of a toroid of light. The whole premise of a black hole is it sucks everything into it and nothing can get out. So why would there be a light around it? What did they put up, traffic lights for all the shit that gets sucked in? It's total nonsense. What we're finding out is magnetically that the universe is an electric circuit connected through Birkeland currents. And in these Birkeland currents, right where my fingers touch here, that would be a Z pinch. And at that point where it touches, that's where the donut is. That's where the magnetic fields meet and they make a torus. The toroid shape is the nature of all elementary particles on Earth. And I think that this is being hidden from us. Doug Vogt does some excellent work uncovering. Go ahead.
For me for a minute. So you're telling me that the gravity is directly correlated to like the strong and the weak force, and that those can cause gravity, that they're interlocked. So they can, when you get more energy into a magnetic field, you necessarily are going to have more gravity because they're connected at a base level of matter. If that's...
Yeah, there's some crazy historical documentation of people being able to jump far distances, and this would be caused by a gravity anomaly.
Well, yeah, there's actually some examples.
You get lighter. Doug Vogt asked him his earlier work. He wrote a book on it. It's Gravity Anomalies, where he goes and finds these weird places where you can be heavier and lighter. And literally, you could be 182 pounds over here, walk a quarter mile, and you're 176 pounds. Totally insane.
Well, it makes me think of these people that are talking about these KK particles and how if you could control that, you could control gravitons. And then supposedly, that's how the little green men are flying around all over the places, that they control these little particles, and then they force gravitons around it so they can move outside of the natural forces of the universe and kind of skip to place. I watched a whole lecture on this guy talking about that, but that would kind of go to that idea that it's all tied together. Each force is tied to each other.
Yeah, indeed. But there is no evidence of black holes or dark energy and matter. That's all mathematical construct. There is the idea of Birkeland currents that you could potentially travel along. And if you want to really talk about the scientific evidence for extraterrestrials, it's Bob Lazar's Bob Lazar's his witness account. He was there, and his new movie proves that he was there. And not only that, there are many people that work in the electric universe circles. One of them, Dr. August Dunning, who recently did a few videos that people can go see. He almost goes full disclosure because he was worked for NASA. He's an astronaut, and he says that NASA has reverse engineered alien technology, and they have anti-gravity UFOs, the same ones that Bob Lazar talks about. And these are UFOs that use element 115 to literally warp space, so they can warp it. They don't make a black hole or a wormhole. They just bend it a little and lean into it, and they can go. They glide on the warp.
And actually, they used to talk about that on some sci-fi shows. Basically, that it's like you make a dimple in the force itself of gravity, and the universe pulls you along a track, kind of. Not a track, but
exactly.
Of stuff. And so you just slide along it because you warped it out of the way.
Yeah, you literally are falling into the hole. You're falling into the hole of warped gravity. And so the faster you move that hole, the faster you go. You can go infinite speed.
Yeah.
With no friction, literally.
So yeah, that's a trip. And why do they continually try to push off these renderings that are, like you said, they're basically just mathematical things that they want you to believe in. So they keep coming up with these renderings of reality. Like they do that a lot with some of these planets, and it bothers me. Like on Mars, I can get high definition altitude pictures from space of Mars, but they won't show me down on the ground. Like I can fly my stupid drone, and I know that there's wind, so that tells me that if there's simple technology on Earth like that they should be able to do that there, and you could fly around and just look at stuff in 4K. You got a little industrial type military drone that's just flying around with a camera looking at stuff. We don't get that. I mean, like anything that you ever get is either questionable if it was on Earth, or it just is a straight up artist rendering of what they're trying to show you or tell you about science or their science.
Yeah, I brought this up last night on my show. The show's over at our new channel, Magnetic Reversal News. So go get it, and on YouTube. And it started with NASA. NASA is the big cover-up, Ransom, and it started with the Moon Project. So they hired Stanley Kubrick to fake it. They did go to the moon and they did make it. And then the idiots decided to use some of the Kubrick footage because it was better than the shitty cameras they brought up with them. So they absolutely shot themselves in the foot. So you can, from the rip, the beginning of NASA, they were a fraud. Same as Dane Wigington, the biggest geoengineering schmuck on the planet. He started his career by photoshopping pictures, and everyone caught him, but nobody cares about that. So it's funny how you can forget that these people are frauds like NASA. So what we've been fed is a narrative by a fraudulent group that's run by the CIA and other shadow fucking governments that is feeding the masses this bullshit story. And here's the picture and blah, blah, blah. Pay your taxes. Global warming.
The number one commodity nowadays is fake reality. I mean, it's on television, it's on social media, it's on all the news channels. And why wouldn't NASA be fake? And what's so funny about that is if you go look at the equipment that they brought with them, they did actually have a really great camera with them. We didn't see any of that footage. I mean, they just didn't use it or whatever. And then they showed us the silly made for TV bullshit that basically is the reason, and it almost makes me think they wanted you to think that it was a fraud also, so that you don't even wonder about what they're doing. That's bullshit. They don't go up there. Then that leaves them to do whatever the fuck they want to do with billions and billions of dollars that they scam out for NASA and this project and that project, and then give me a blurry damn picture of Mars and won't let me look at stuff up close. Like, why aren't we going over there to that cool thing in the photo? Like they got the rover driving around and it's showing you all the pebbles, and then they say there wasn't water for a while, and everybody's saying, hey, look at the pebbles, they're water pebbles. And it's like, oh yeah, well, we think water comes out sometime. Okay, there's water. It's like, and they incrementalize these ideas and won't ever even just, well, how about you guys shut the fuck up and just put a high def camera on there for everybody to look at, right? It flies around. We all get to look at the evidence and say, yeah, that's a lake, or, you know, like what? We don't get to do that. Sorry for the delay.
Some of the audio that was just released on the Apollo mission, they were up there looking for glass from a solar outburst. They weren't up there doing anything else. And August Dunning pointed this out, that majority of those tapes, the astronauts were up there looking for glass. The general public does not know that that was what was going on. So the fraud has been going on since then, and maybe even longer. The whole point of the disinformation is that the less you know, the more control they have. And they have done a complete job at disinforming the public on what's actually happening. And this same thing happened in Rome. More and more disinformation right before the catastrophic event. The powers that be and these people that are controlling the narrative are well aware of what's coming with the crop loss and famine, global unrest, the potential for a major solar flare to take out the grid. Our infrastructure is not ready for that. 8 billion people will all die in great numbers, and the stench will be incredible. It will wrap around the world. So people need to prepare if they want to survive. And you just need to prepare for a long-term off-grid scenario where there will be no zombies far from major cities, or get the out of Dodge when the major event happens. Do not wait. Do not stop at Walmart to loot. You do not need a flat screen.
Right? You don't need a flat screen. What is that going to do for you? I could see, though, burying some technology like my drone and a camera that zooms in and all of that stuff, and trying to hide it so that when everybody else is walking around in the Stone Age, I'm like, what are they doing over there? You know what I mean? Just to scout out the area. I realize that's a pretty good tool to look around your area and stuff. Like if you're deep in the forest and you know that there's bears there, like real bears in that area, you can flip it up. Oh, no, we need to go that way because mama bear and whatever's over there, or people trying to rob you, or people trying to come up on your property. I've noticed this thing is, the technology's awesome, and I'm waiting until they outlaw it and ban it and make it suck worse, because you know how sometimes when a really good idea comes out, they'll, you know, I don't know what you call that, they'll make it worse, or make it work shittier.
Yeah, this summer we're going to be doing some videos on some survival bunkers we're going to be building here at the facility. And we're going to also, our main plan is to have lots of electronic equipment and Faraday cages that is EMP proof to come out for the same reason you just said. You will be so much more ahead of everyone else. All you need is solar power to charge these. So in these same bunkers that will be Faraday cages, we're going to have extra batteries, extra solar panels, and these devices, you know, they charge quite quickly off of the sun. So if you have that advantage in a grid down scenario, you're going to win. You're going to be the most secure. You're going to be able to be the most lootable. So we have millions of mansions here high in the mountains. We'll easily be able to go check if anyone's there before we go break in and take all their shit, because these people are never making it to their houses. Right. We're going to take everything and stay the night. Trust me.
Not only that, car parts. Car parts for whatever make and model of car you use. You save back the CPUs, the solenoids, starters, things like that. And you want a Faraday cage those things too. So after the event, you can twist a wrench for 20 minutes and you're driving. I mean, if you have an older, you know, like a mid-80s nice car, or anything a little bit older than that. just saying. But anyway,
yeah,
and you better do it fast, because
I prefer a horse or a tractor, and you can make biodiesel and you can drive around in your tractor. So I like the horse backup and the tractor.
Oh yeah, awesome.
In a grid down situation, you don't have to get anywhere fast, so you want to get there slow and be able to shoot people as they come at you. So tractor is my number one pick with a bulletproof cab.
Well, it would make you think you'd want to have like bobcats and all that stuff backed up like in the ground, but nobody's doing that. That's an idea that sounds preposterous to most people, but you better do it quick before Planet of the Apes happens, because you know those pesky scientists wanted to see what would happen if they could make an ape smarter. By they're really trying to go there. How do I know that they're not going to gene edit a little person like this and then bury it in some island like the Philippines or something, and then say that there were little hobbit people running. I mean, because, you know, they lie so much about different things or skip over evidence that I always wonder what's really going on. So when people do stuff like this, how do I know they're not going to find the missing link next week?
Yeah, because it doesn't exist, first of all.
Well,
but more importantly, the whole idea of gasoline in a grid down scenario is preposterous. Gas is not stable for more than a year and a half. No one's going to be making it. So if you want to run any vehicle and you're really thinking about the future, you should be thinking about like vehicles that run on wood gasifiers and shit like that. Gasoline is not going to be available like in beyond Thunderdome. It doesn't work that way. You can't find 10-year-old gas and use it. This shit won't work.
No.
It just won't.
There are some additives and different things that you can do, but it's not going to last that long. Like you're saying, you're not going to get a decade out of anything, but
no.
hard enough and you have crops of different things that you can turn into biofuel. You may have an alternative way of driving around with your diesel, right? Or making ethanol at home in your own still. Not to mention a little barley, some wheat. You might have a little booze also. What happened? There's something happening. This is something breaking. I don't know. You're muted, I think.
Yeah, it started snowing and the dog was crying.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go get some kind of like device or something. You just were like, oh. No, what do you think about that? About
this is my flute.
Oh, wow. You know, at first I thought it was a recording. Let's get through it. I don't think we're living in a I keep seeing these scientists trying to tell me I'm living in a simulation, and I don't know what they mean by that. Do they mean I live in a universe that's based on, you know, provable scientific laws, or don't I? And if so, how did the laws show up? Like, why is there pi, and you know, why are there constants in the universe supposedly? If someone didn't program it, that doesn't mean it's a Nintendo game, but you know, like somebody put the laws and things in motion or something.
Yeah, I mean, after this mushroom journey I just did, it's clear that we're in a machine. And with the work of Doug Vogt and the theory of multidimensional reality, and the fact that our physics works in 3 dimensions, it's pretty clear that there's many other dimensions that we're not in, so that we literally are experiencing a simulation in a certain way. It's a biological simulation, but it's a simulation nonetheless. What you and I are seeing and hearing right now is delayed. It's part of a computer neural network that's biological. We're making it up. It's very interesting how the whole thing works. So we're kind of limited in these 3 dimensions, which is clear to me that the pituitary and our soul has access to other dimensions once we leave these 3 dimensions of biology. So we probably access 4th through 8th dimensions upon our biological death, and we'll probably understand it more then. But maybe it's you can't understand the biological dimensions unless you're here, and then when you're over there, there's no way to perceive this kind of hell on earth that we're living right now, which is a fucking simulation that's run by some creepy pricks.
So are you telling me that if you take DMT and I go through the threshold there, and when I get there, I'm talking to somebody, that those are the programmers, or at least there's somebody on another dimensional level, and that's only a place that you could get through that chemical, because like you said, your pineal gland pumps your body full of DMT at the moment of death. When your mind realizes you're dying, you go through a whole trip based on a molecule that has a certain property to it. And I've been they have a scientist now that or a science experiment that they're doing where they want to put DMT into an IV and feed it to somebody for long periods of time to stretch out the experience because it doesn't last long enough. And secondly, how was the mushy trip? Because I love mushrooms. I always have some kind of really cool thing on mushrooms. Like something always happens, it seems. Like you said, you're a little bit more in tune to the machine and what's going on.
Yeah, well, how about this? How about if our Earth is part of the program and our Earth has helped humans evolve in certain ways? So after these cosmic rays change us into a new species, the Earth knows that we need to learn or migrate or go further or expand our horizons. So the Earth, being Gaia and a genius that's been here for billions of years, makes a mushroom that grows out of poop. And this mushroom is easily seen by people. So the people go over to the poop and they eat the mushroom. The mushroom allows these people to see further and to lose their ego and to understand, take risks. And then they learn how to make a straw ship and go across the ocean. I truly believe that these mushrooms, because then they were worshipped thousands of years ago. There's a lot of evidence that as far back as 1 to 4,000 BC, there were mushroom cults, people that use these magic mushrooms for spiritual purposes and for knowledge.
Well, my experiences are more on the just for fun side of, like I never even really occurred to me when I was young that I was trying to go on a spiritual thing or anything like that. But I did notice that, the organic high I got from mushrooms, everything was more funny, and words that I wanted to think up and ideas I wanted to express, I didn't have any stuttering or delay. I just said them and they came out like exactly what I thought without fucking up. And I remember like all kinds of different experiences, different, but one thing in common for me was everything seemed to be very enjoyable and funny, even if it was kind of negative and dark.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the magic. Now, if you have an intention before you eat the mushrooms, the journey you'll take is that intention. So if you go to a spiritual place and you intend to have visions, or you want to heal some problems or some trauma, and you intend to do that while you talk about it, like ceremonially, this is my intention for this journey, it will happen 100%. And that's just the nature of the mushroom. Plus, they're safer than aspirin, for goodness sake. So do not be scared of psilocybin mushrooms.
You think the reason that
they're about to become legal in Denver?
I know. Do you think that the reason that they don't like those specifically, though, is because of the fact that they have obvious medical benefits on top of going into a spiritual understanding of things in a different way? They're definitely mind expanding, but also they improve your eyesight. They improve your taste and hearing, according to several papers I've read about psilocybin. And right now they're running commercials in the UK, but they want you to let some doctor decide when and where and under what frame of mind you're going to take this drug. So they're pushing for their government to let them open it up into the pharma over there. But that scares me because I don't even like that whole arrangement in the first place. And I sure don't need some person putting ideas in my head while I'm taking it with whatever, like you said, whatever agenda that they're wanting you to take a trip on. Because it is about your frame of mind. And I've noticed the only people I've ever met, and that goes for even acid, that had a bad trip, they were already negative before they even started the day. Like it of course you're going to have a bad trip. That's where you're at in life.
Yep. Yeah. It's all frame of mind. Absolutely. And now, why would you want to take a psilocybin experience, walk into a correctional facility called a healthcare facility, right? That smells like disease, sit on this innocuous bed that 100 other asses were on, and then put on some kind of eye shades and sit there while you catch rubella and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from the air.
Oh,
I mean, how is that an experience? Deadly mold, right? I don't even get it. You need to, The mushrooms are from nature, and they're there to connect you to nature, to your source. You have to go outside.
Oh, yeah.
You can also have an experience around a fire, but it's ceremonial at nighttime, and that's also not inside of somebody's clinic. So all of these treatments and clinics is nonsense. It's so they can control the narrative and make more money off this shit. I think it's stupid. We need to get back to homeopathy, treating ourselves with food and knowledge, shared wisdom through the ages. That's free to access, free to grow, free for your friends and family and neighbors. Maybe you have a skill and they don't. You can share these medicines, but we don't need to be hedging our bets, paying thousands of dollars a year for Obamacare and other nonsense. We shouldn't need to go to the hospital. We really shouldn't. I mean, trauma happens and you hope a hospital's there so we don't have to cut your leg off. But for the most part, you shouldn't get sick in general. And most people don't need their legs sawn off in general.
Yeah, that's exactly why I never go to. I'm not into going to hospitals to go really, unless if somebody I really like and they really got fucked up real bad. I'm probably not going to go to the hospital for any reason. That's where everybody sick goes, and that's where all the bad advice is. Unless I broke my arm, I don't want to actually get advice from a doctor. I was actually talking about that last night. How I do respect the fact that in order to get letters behind your name, you had to prove that you knew some material. But when you're doing things for yourself, you can get that information just as easily as the person that studied. And if you really want to know about something, you can do the same thing they did, which is research, study until you know what you're talking about, like really understand something. But you don't have to have letters behind your name.
Many of these doctors got their point of view from one source, so they're not multidisciplinary. They don't look at esoteric information or holistic or natural medicine, nutritional healing. They, just want to inject chemotherapy in you. When the statistics show that homeopathy and curing cancer with nutrition is just as effective as chemo in some cases. And now the big talk of the town in cancer is nutritional therapy. Oh my God, imagine that. That's what we were talking about 10 years ago. Rick Simpson oil and nutritional therapy. Eat the B17, eat the seeds, man. Don't throw them away. When the doctor said eat an apple a day, he meant the seeds. They do not contain arsenic and they're not going to kill you. They're lying to you because the seeds will cure cancer and keep you cancer free. Eat the fucking seeds and chew them.
Somewhere, I don't remember where, so don't quote me on it, but I actually read somewhere about all kinds of seeds having trace amounts of natural arsenic, that the arsenic is actually what does help you with the cancer. It's small amounts instead of poison with artificial, like produced arsenic that people used to poison people with.
Yeah, it's in apple seeds. It's at such a low level that you would have to eat like 40 apples worth of seeds to even get arsenic poisoning. Yeah. So you're eating 1/40th of a toxic level, which actually is probably helping.
Yeah.
I always loved the acid that had the strychnine. It was better.
The blotter. But check this out. And then all these doctors are confused at things like this. Drug tests show marijuana use 14-year high among workers. Duh. I mean, I'm just like, well, that's because if you're doing anything, well, maybe if you're not doing something super dangerous. I've never had problems with my dexterity when I'm stoned. I have had 420 moments where I forgot something on short-term memory loss, which is a side effect. So if you need to be on super air traffic controller or something, maybe you shouldn't get high. But for everybody else doing basic remedial skills, come on. Monsanto sucks. Isn't it Bear now, though? You need to update your shirt. You should just put a red line over that, and then on top of that, just put the Bear thing, so it still says Monsanto, so people don't forget. Yeah, so what do you think? Of course, people are smoking while they work. I enjoy smoking while I work. I mean, like I always have.
Bear and Monsanto used to be a corporation back during the Vietnam War, and they created Agent Orange.
I know.
And then they broke apart. Now they're back together, so it's no real difference.
Well,
this shit's been going on for decades.
By splitting, Well, that's not a
Yeah.
company. And then when Monsanto got in trouble and Bayer got in trouble for, all the AIDS tainting, and then they get back together and say, well, we're not responsible for the company prior to the merger. That those are mistakes of Monsanto, LL, whatever. Yeah, they don't care. And it's that same company. You notice that all the time when you find out a major poisoning, it's like DuPont or Johnson and Johnson or fucking Monsanto. It's always one of these things, and they're all together in umbrella corporations and subsidiaries. It's all the same people, all the different brands. They all go back to the same major company. So it is obviously not an accident that these things happen. They know what they're doing and why.
Yeah, these multinational corporations are what's destroying and depleting the earth of its life. And if there isn't a reset coming soon, this planet will die. It's not because of you. It's not because of CO2. It's because of multinational corporations destroying the planet, destroying the resources, polluting the waterways. The fracking industry is now polluting the subsurface water as the population grows. If all the subsurface water, all the well water is toxic, we're all dead. I mean, or we're all sick. So the reset is inevitable. The planet purges itself, the system purges itself, and the empire model has been going up and down every 1,000 years, time immemorial, and we're falling off the cliff. The powers that be know that. They're trying to distract you more, get you more enslaved, and prepare you for the times that are coming, because you're going to be corralled like an animal soon. And the only people that are safe are going to be in rural areas like where you and I live, because we can get out of Dodge. They're not going to care about the stray ants. They're not. And we're going to be on our own, and we're ready.
Yeah, plus you would probably be already moving before things where everybody caught on that it's getting nasty all of a sudden. And kind of in closing on that, you got any like last thoughts about all because in my mind there's only really one debate. I know a reset's coming. What the question is will it be nature that resets before the elite reset? Because I know the elite reset the information every so often, and with gene edited children and different things like that. And you can see, like, over the past several years, they've been attacking what you're allowed to learn, how you're allowed to say it. You can't, use certain words, and you can't, they go after specific things. And I know they're geniuses at it. That's why they went after General Lee, because he was actually, if you read his letters to Lincoln, he was anti-slavery. So what they did is they went for the Northern Virginia battle flag and General Robert E. Lee specifically because he was against slavery, and used his emblem for the symbol of racism. You know how they said that's the Confederate flag, but it's not the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag was a circle of stars and a red and blue stripe. It wasn't even that. They just made it up. It's all made up. And then the next thing you know, all these kids are tearing down statues and wonder why their children, won't know nothing. They won't know anything. There's no proof. There's no books. There's no statues. All their grandpappies died off of in the great purge of the diabetic insulin shortage when there was no electricity or whatever happened. So it'll be back to the Stone Age for almost everyone. Not only with history, but science, and just, all about what the hell you're here for. They seem to do that every time people are about to figure out why you're here, what your purpose is, and what you should be doing. Then they reset, or nature does it for them, like you said, and empires just disappear.
Yeah, man, we're living in the quickening. We're about to all find out the dots that are connecting, the people that are meeting. We're gaining more and more knowledge about the truth of our past, the fact that there have missing civilizations that have been completely eliminated time and time again. It's not a mystery. And what's clear is that the infrastructure that's been created through a national network of frauds. Let's just take the Antiquities Department of Egypt. They're clearly lying to everyone. They know about secret tunnels. They have secret information. They found books under the Sphinx, and they lie right in front of you. When we know now that they're lying, why are they lying? They're hiding something. They're hiding the truth.
They don't want to be called racist.
Say it again.
They don't want to be called racist. They're afraid that people will get triggered when they put up a bunch of blonde, blue-eyed mummies up and then tell you that, oh, well, these pyramids and stuff were already here before they came along and started graffiti and everything with hieroglyphics when they found it.
The Egyptians are pissed that they're not Egyptians. The Egyptians are the British people. 80% of their DNA from the pharaohs. And they just moved because shit happens and we move around the earth. It's called migration. Migration always happens, and it's pushed by catastrophic things like shifts in weather, shifts in society, shifts in solar output, huge cometary impacts, all these things that we talk about. Solar outbursts from the sun, which are pretty regular, at least every 6,000 years. There was one, the Charlemagne event we know about, it's 700 AD, that probably reset the clock once again, which is why the Dark Ages occurred. There's very little information happening back then. And the next one's coming.
Like, like if you're standing out there and you're on the pyramids and they're like, well, I wonder what happened to these ancient people that built this. Do you see the fucking sand? I mean, it goes on for hundreds of miles. Something fucked up happened. They moved. That's why you found it that way.
Or they're all dead and they got blown up during a catastrophe, which it's looking more and more likely. But before we get blown up by the next catastrophe, what's going to happen is the end of civilization. Society will break down. And I believe that the sun is going to help, and it's going to be grid failure first, and or the powers that be manipulating markets. So first they're going to make everyone poor, and then the shit will start to deteriorate, and it'll make sense. Well, you don't have any money. Well, there's no electric. Why does it matter? Here's your food allotment.
Yeah, and then I get scared when I see articles like I saw yesterday where they talk about they closed the Des Moines, port conference or whatever the hell it was due to fears of swine flu. Because what I'm not hearing that they're really worried about swine flu. What I'm hearing is that somebody just made a lot of money because they upped the price of pork just now because of that article out of Des Moines. It's like, and they do that, and then the whole stocks will change, like you said, and a bunch of people can go broke, just right away. They manipulate everything like that.
Yeah, and we're part of the party, so you should start preparing now. There's no reason to get peace of mind and start preparing for things that eventually will happen. It's been too common, too good, too long. If you're a complete skeptic, that should be enough to wake you up right now. Things always happen. Shit always happens. It always happens. It always will. It's going to happen sooner than later.
Is Murphy's Law a law of physics? Or is that just a joke?
No.
No,
Murphy's Law.
But it seems like it should be listed up there as one of a real law of the universe there. If it can go wrong, it probably did go wrong somewhere. It will go wrong again, and it's going wrong somewhere right now. All right, one last question. I'll let you go because I like your scientific mind tripping on stuff. One question left. The theory of particle entanglement, or maybe fact. I'm not sure. I lost track of if they said that's a fact or not. But the idea that, something disappears and it's just not really there, but it's more likely to be there than not to be there. So what I'm wondering is, whenever they talk about particle entanglement, where two different particles are sharing the same information, is it really particle entanglement, or is it just one that's not really there? It's just more likely to be there than not to be there. And sometimes it's somewhere else, maybe a different dimension or whatever. But if you think it's possible that quantum entanglement is really just a side effect of what they see when they realize that particles disappear for some portion of time, or they're not there.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Doug Vogt's theory of multidimensional reality, that there are other dimensions that particles can come in and out of. And what's happened scientifically in the physics realm is that they actually invented something called quantum foam over a decade ago, and they were actually able to send things into different dimensions. They had no idea where it was going, and then they could bring them back. They had the ability to do that. And so by this point, while we're talking, they can probably send larger. They were saying in a decade they could send a whole molecule to a different dimension and then bring it back. But they don't know where they're sending it or what time they're sending it to. They're just they're screwing with stuff. They don't know what's going on.
Well, that gets into,
But it's interesting. Yeah.
that gets into the whole V-Wave thing, and I'll talk to you about that another time because that'll probably take forever. No, but anyway, thanks for coming on, Diamond, to the 420 TV news there, and tell us.
Yeah, come check out our new channel at Magnetic Reversal News, where it'll be the Oppenheimer Ranch updates. Check out the live stream for LeakCon. Ransom's going to be doing some of the filming, and do it.
Awesome.
I'll see you at 420.
420.